what I've learned, James, as a Palestinian-American, right, born and raised in the United States, living in Texas, what I've learned is that I always knew that the sympathy and the empathy for Palestinians was low in the West. I always knew that, right? Yeah. But what I've learned now is that I always thought that there was a threshold, right? I was like, there's no way they'll get away with that. There's no way Israel can do this and everyone's just going to sit back and let it happen. What I've learned is that was an absolute lie, right? International law does not matter. It's an illusion, right? It's an illusion because it only counts towards the people that we're friends with, that we care about, right, as the West, and not the people that we don't know or people that look different than we do, right? And on the question of, like, as you mentioned, the UK could have done more, even though it really wouldn't have changed the whole situation.
Well, exactly.
That's the thing, right? Like, I don't know what they could have done more. Right, I don't know,
but we do know that it wouldn't have changed anything, because what we've both learned is that there is actually no upper limit on what Netanyahu will do without being stopped. The question of who and what might stop him is moot in that moment of recording. That we now know that there is no limit on this. The people who were talking about dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza at the very outset of this horror, they actually have had fingers on the steering wheel all along.
Absolutely, and not just at the outset, but even recently you had a senator or a congressman saying something similar here. But I think actually doing something shows moral clarity, right? So let me just give you an example real quick. So I co-founded and run an organization supporting blind people. I'm legally blind myself. Okay, right? I'm legally blind myself. So we support people that are blind here in the United States and internationally. And when Gaza started, me being Palestinian, I was like, there's got to be a way I can help people there. And we figured out to be like the only people in the world specifically trying to help the blind people in Gaza. Like we support 10 blind people with their families in Gaza, right? And it's a drop in the bucket, right? Yeah. It's not going to make a change in the overall scene of things, but I know I'm at least making a difference to these people.
Sure.
Right, I'm helping them in any way we can, and I think that's what needs to be done. Really, on the bigger scale, full boycott, divestment, just that's the only thing that's really going to that's actually going to stop this.
I hadn't thought of that. I mean, I don't know what the diplomatic obstacles would be to just getting heavily involved in humanitarian aid at a governmental level, but I mean, we know that we've spoken to surgeons trying to get in and trying to get out, and they've been frustrated at every turn. Some of them brave and dedicated and committed enough to actually persist and get into hospitals and operate on people in conditions that are unthinkable to Western medics. But I don't know what the rules and the laws and the diplomatic situation would be with regard to a country like the United Kingdom trying to almost independently or autonomously provide humanitarian aid. I don't know how they'd get in, but you'd like to think they'd tried or looked into it, wouldn't you? I want to say two things to you. One is a statement and one is an answer. I worry, the more I look around the world, that in the United Kingdom and the United States, we've been slightly misled about the scale of public sympathy and public support for the Palestinian people. I think that we have been fed an almost unleavened diet of othering and denigration. And actually, the more I learn about how these things are reported in two countries I know quite well, for example, Ireland and Greece, the more I realise that that is not the West, as you and I would describe it. And the second is a question: do you think sympathy and so, because Texas is probably not a wonderful case study for answering this question, but do you think it's increased? Do you think there's more sympathy and support for the people of Palestine now than there was 2 years ago?
100%. Yeah. I would say I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I was born and raised in New Jersey, right, in the East Coast. I moved here about 7 years ago.
Even I can tell that, and I grew up in Kidderminster. But the thing is because of how social media is now, right? Because of that, the world has access to information that was locked behind the door by mainstream media. Now it's out in the public. Everyone can see it. You can't hide it. Either you sympathize and empathize, or you're just cold and dead inside. Cold and dead inside. Thank you, Nadir, and thank you for your contribution as well. It's very helpful, always helpful to hear from perspectives that are not in our immediate reach.